oh, I have this Belullar one that they play the World Within's next patch, everything 11.0.7. I don't know anything about the 11.0.7 patch, so I believe that watching this video can bring me up to speed with what is going to come out, so that will be good for me. I have to say that I have high hopes that in the 11.0.7 they introduce changes to Mythic Plus. Like that they don't wait for 11.1, but they take the opportunity to improve stuff in Mythic Plus in this patch. I have high hopes for that. So let's see what is coming in this patch by looking at what Belullar has to say.
Welcome back everyone, we've got a lot to talk about today because our next patch, 11.07, is on the PTR and we've actually been playing it. So, between playing it, Blizzard's announcement, and of course data miners tearing the thing to shreds, we've got a clear picture of what the next few months of World of Warcraft is going to look like, even including the return of an upgraded Plunderstorm. Which is big for me, I'm at least one of the 7 people who really loved it. Anyway, I'll start with a quick rundown before I get into the full review of the gameplay from PTR. Blizzard have announced Siren Isle. It's the new patch zone in 11.07, and you can think of it as Forbidden Reach 2.0. It's kind of acting as our now usual mid-season wave of world content. The island itself is an old Kultaran Azerite mining facility that is now mysteriously vacant, and it's surrounded by nigh impassable storms. There is a reason why it's Kultaran, by the way, but more on that later. And it's also the same island we recently covered that called out to Ricket's crew, leading to all of that 11.05 Dornegal NPC dialogue. Anyway, that discovery essentially started a rush of Arathi, Earthen, and Goblins, all on the hunt for this crystal that sounds suspiciously like Belullar. So we go there, and when we get there, we set up camp and we start investigating. We quickly find a ring called Circe's Circlet, and this ring essentially harnesses the power of gems cut from the strange singing crystals found in the island. And that's
okay, so this is like the Forbidden Reach. At the point the Forbidden Reach came out in Dragonflight, I was like I wasn't playing the game basically. So I didn't experience the Forbidden Reach in the high moment. So probably I will actually play this patch and see how it is, brother.
That's basically our gameplay reason for going there. It's a second shot of the Onyx Amulet that they did in Dragonflight. Basically, it's a ring, it's got 3 special slots for crystals, those crystals have effects, and it's designed to be a wave of mid-season power to, well, give somebody something to do, something to chase after, but also to help you get through some of the content that you might be progressing on. And as always, more gems and more item level boosts for the ring will unlock over the weeks as we find out basically what the hell's going on the island and what the crystals are. I'll go in depth on how it plays shortly, but before that there's just a few more points. There is going to be an epilogue questline with the Kirin Tor as they figure out what to do now that Dalaran has been blown up, and then we also know the Haranir will finally make a proper appearance in the 11.1 prologue campaign, which has also got its splash screen data mined. And Blizzard really aren't holding back secrets. Their promo video actually had a employee monitor blatantly display Kazan, so that is, I mean, that's a further tease. That's basically the Goblin home island. That means that 11.1 is almost certainly going to have the Haranir facing off against the Venture Company. And then on top of that, we found out that the Turbulent Timeways event is also going to make a return.
I hate it when I get out of stamina, brother. This is annoying. I don't want to walk. I want to run every time, all the time.
At some point, also with a fresh mount reward, and we also know that the Arathi half-ears are going to be a customization option for the humans and the Kultarans coming in this patch. Okay, with that said, it's time to jump into the PTR and see how all of this plays, and if you'd like to support the work that our team does, well, you can go to Belullar.games. Over there, we've actually released another episode of the Lore Walking Podcast. It's a deep dive into Hallowfall. I'll think you'll love it. There is so much great lore there that, let's just say, will be relevant for the future. And of course, our members also get access to our videos early and ad-free, and a whole bunch more, and you can check that out with a free trial at the link down below. Let's dig into the PTR then, where the most important thing is our new patch zone. The crux of the island is weekly quests combined with rares, treasures, secrets, and a farmable currency. This time it is called Flame-Blessed Iron. Yeah, there's a lot of currencies this time around. Now,
this time around, brother, if you compound all the currencies, there has to be like more currencies in WoW than in the real world, my dude.
We're not fully sure on what the big ticket reward items are going to be here because the vendors aren't actually stocked yet, but it does seem like it's the standard world content model that we've come to know. That being said, there are some key differences that actually just make this seem kind of interesting. But basically, do your weeklies for big chunks of the resource and farm out a bit more if you want by doing rares and that sort of thing. Now, the patch notes do say mounts, pets, transmog, gear.
By the way, I like that hunting rares things. You know when I had the most fun hunting rares? In Seret Mortis in Shadowlands. It was awesome, all the groups that you could get in to hunt rares in Seret Mortis. It was really, really cool. I had fun doing that in Shadowlands. In Dragonflight, you could still hunt for rares, but it wasn't as cool as in Seret Mortis, in my opinion. I'm playing retail again right now. There's actually like 9 different currencies, exactly, and those are the ones that matter. If you go for every single random thing, there are infinite currencies.
Gear and ring upgrades, so yeah, you'll have plenty of reasons to get that currency. And looking at the data mining, we have of course seen loads of models that are listed as being attached to vendors and drops within the area. And one of those, I think a very notable one for the several people who remember it, is the Stormcrow mount. It is finally available as a part of one of this island's secrets. It's called Thrayer, Eyes of the Siren, and its initial data mining appeared during Siege of Orgrimmar in 2013. And from what we've learned so far, it seems to be a secret hunt across the island. As for the island itself, I've got to be honest with you, our time in the island has actually been pretty damn fun, even at this early PTR stage. The place essentially feels like a careful blend of the Forbidden Reach with Mechagon, and that is a good thing because Mechagon was actually quite well liked at the time. It is simple enough, it's tiny, but it's really dense and brimming with character. And despite the weeklies feeling like sort of standard fare, the combination of Mechagon-like traversal mechanics and the sheer density of the island actually make it a blast to just hop around and do things. And this is also made better by the quests being split across 2 versions of the island. This is something we haven't really seen before. So there's the regular version, but then the Storm version. Now, the Storm variant is accessed by talking to an NPC. So maybe they plan this to be like something that alternates based in time, and maybe realize that wasn't like a bad idea, so they just wanted to be on demand. It's hard to say, but whatever we've got now does actually work. Without the Storm, the island has got easier mobs, it's got its own set of rares and quests, plus the command map objectives. And for these, donating a pittance of iron will activate weekly bosses to kill for gems that slot into your new ring. But then, whenever you move into the Storm version of the Isle, it's got a whole new set of rare elite mobs, it's got rare...
Will that ring be usable in... Maybe he said it and I didn't pay attention. Will that ring be usable in Raid and in Mythic Plus or whatever? Because if it is, I like this. If you can like farm the event to buff your ring and you can take that ring to endgame activities, that is a good idea and I support it and I like it.
It's got quests to do, and basically it's a harder version of the island. Now, there is one thing where you've probably seen fear-mongering, right? That there's no flying here. And yes, I get it. People find out there's no flying, and immediately people think, oh, Blizzard, we've been through this before. What are you thinking? So, the island is tiny, and very early on you unlock a jetpack that lets you glide around the place pretty damn effortlessly, and you get a gigantic swim speed boost. It does look like they'll open up flying a little bit later based on some buffs that exist in the game files, but trust me, from actually...
I'm not one of the people that cry when there is no flying, because in my opinion, flying shouldn't be in the game at all. So I don't cry when a son doesn't have flying.
Playing on it, it's not necessary here. It's already trivial to get around, and I don't know, it feels like a needlessly exaggerated drama that isn't really based in playing the game, to be honest. And some of that goes to bread and butter game design fundamentals. If you've got a really big play space, then yes, your flying obviously makes a lot of sense. In a case like this, where the island is tiny and it is dense, there's certainly an argument that flying can quite mess up a lot of the more intricate designs you may want to do.
Exactly, if the isle is like a little tiny bit and you go dragon flying, which is insanely fast, like there is no point.
So them doing the jetpack and the water stuff, that kind of makes sense to solve the traversal problem, but still give them gameplay opportunities. Okay, there's that. Next then, the ring. It's got 3 slots, and the effects that we've seen so far split into DPS, tank, and healer. There are fairly obvious concerns that this could end up being as busted as the Onyx Amulet was in Dragonflight. We'll obviously just have to wait and see if they've learned their lesson there. At least the good news is that from data mining, at least so far, only 12 gems have been found. That's about half of what the Amulet had, which should be a lot easier to manage from a balance perspective. They're also split into 3 categories, that is cool. So mixing them and matching them is a bit more restrained, which again will help with balance. And while it's important I say that there may be more to come in the future, right now they are simple damage procs, healing procs, and stat boosts. And the good news here is that they're swappable freely. You don't need to use an NPC or an ability like sort of past systems, it's just way easier. Now, the upgrades, of course, may end up being unlocked at different speeds on the PTR, so it's hard to really apply this to live, but right now, you can do 3 quests in a row to upgrade it to eye level 629 right away. There is a 4th quest that exists, but it was actually bugged. Again, though, PTR testing, PTR pacing, it's very hard to say exactly what's going on there. At the very least, we know that these are coming from a quest chain, and it's something that is not tagged as being weekly, though I've got to imagine they won't give you a fully juiced up ring immediately. Lore-wise, I've got to be honest with you, there's actually too much to dig into in one video here, so you'll have to wait next week. We're gonna let it cook. But I will give you the TikTok version of it now. So these crystals are extremely similar to Belullar. The Naga are collecting those crystals, and so are the Vrykul, which does raise some eyebrows. Now, it's called the Siren Isle because people have long heard the call from the crystal, only to have things go badly when they arrive, and our big example is the Cultirans who came there before us, but by the time we've arrived, mysteriously have vanished. And there is a meta reason for that. This is actually an unused island expedition map from Battle for Azeroth. It was a Cultiran Azerite mining map that they used as a base to develop this zone from, and they've actually done a pretty damn great job at working it into the story. I know some people will look at that and think, oh, asset.
I never played Island Expeditions because I didn't play the game at the time, but people say that they used to be really cool, that people like them. So maybe this will be cool too.
Reuse, but honestly, like, it may as well be new content. It's not like anyone's actually been to this island, and I have a slight suspicion it'll get more play here than it would have if it was an island expedition, which, obviously they weren't really that loved at the time. Now,
oh, apparently I am completely wrong and people didn't like them. He's saying that they weren't loved at the time. So maybe I am thinking about a different thing that was in Battle for Azeroth.
Now, the link between Azerite and Belullar sort of being crystallized world soul energy, that stuff in the deep lore is left as a mystery while we explore some other things like ancient Vrykul ruins. Those are actually quite fun. These Vrykul seem to know how to harness these crystals, but the Naga and the forces of darkness then fought them to the death there. Now, a potential source for the Storming Sea is hinted at, which is quite exciting if you're following that side of the lore. There's some fancy talk about energy complexity that hints at these crystals being sort of Azerothian, but not entirely Azerothian, and there's even one bit that reminds us of the Light's assault on Revendreth. Finally then, we do hear some faint whispers of Iron Vrykul having an ancient civilization beneath the earth. Yeah, like beneath, I don't know, is it Hollow Earth? I don't.
By the way, I like the Vrykul. They are really, really cool. And like, I guess that a lot of people that play human would play a Vrykul instead because they are like a big human. They are awesome. They are like big Vikings. A lot of people would play Vrykul if they were a playable race.
No, but to be honest with you, I'd kind of with that. But anyway, that's just a whisper for now, and then there's the connection of all of these crystals to memories and emotions, not just Azeroth's, and Blizzard basically deepens and furthers that lore. There is so much to go into in depth. We're going to do that, but it will take until next week because there's just a lot to process. Back to the patch overall then. Blizzard's notes announce a huge set of racial buffs for certain races, mostly allied ones. Now these are covering Void Elves, both types of Draenei, Worgen, Zandalari, Mag'har, Nightborn, Volpera, and High Mountain Tauren. Some buffs are massive, some are fairly
It is cool that they buff my High Mountain Tauren, brother. I like a lot the racial for the High Mountain Tauren where you push forward, like you go. That is an awesome racial, by the way.
Minor, and they say that it's to try and add a bit more diversity of racials across content. Some of it's pure numbers, but I'll tell you what's really nice. The Void Elf Rift finally moves faster than your run speed. which means it's, I guess, an actual movement ability, not just something you can use to, I suppose, mess with people's heads in PvP. It only took 7 years to make that one good. Anyway, another curious thing to mention is an upcoming profession respec option. That's for your profession specializations.
That is awesome, brother. That's really cool.
Fairly interesting. You see, the problem with those is you only get so much knowledge a week. There's no way to respec it after you've spent it, so people could feel like they would
and
just
you can make
naturally
mistakes
be
too.
exploring their profession, but then basically realize, oh no, I've bricked my character. So Blizzard, it seems anyway, are trying to rebalance that. Next, let's hop into a bit of downloading. So the same splash screen that showed Orwena also mentioned Winter's Veil, and that does imply this patch will be out in the usual 8-week cadence, which would mean December 17th. Which does seem really late, but I guess that's what they're planning. Another thing then, now that we've learned that a lot of the instability from this patch has got a known source, which basically is upgrades to the game engine that had unintended consequences, they say they should avoid that, or at least that's the implication. I'd also say this content is also more of a known factor, and there aren't any major class changes coming, so at least a number of the risk factors that really screwed 1105 shouldn't be present in this one. But still, if I was Blizzard, I would be extremely cautious. Anyway, speaking of holidays, we're also getting used to what they're doing. Lunar Festival and Love is in the Air are going to be getting a new stack of transmogs this year round, according to the data mining we're seeing. Some of these are flagged as being in the trading post, others are going to be from vendors and the event boss drop, and this does include new shoulders and broom mounts to match the Love Witch sets that dropped earlier this year. And then there's Plunderstorm and the Plunder Store as well as a practice mode, but there is no sign of trios just yet. So the Plunder Store has got all of the returning transmog.
Now, what I want to know is if Plunderstorm will come as a permanent game mode, if it will be inside the game this time, or it will continue to be outside the game. I'll be honest, I am not a Plunderstorm enjoyer, but I think it is cool that it exists. I like that Plunderstorm exists, even if I am not an enjoyer, because this opens the possibility to more cool game modes, and I like Blizzard trying cool new stuff, because maybe while they are trying cool new stuff, they come out with something that I actually enjoy.
In it. It's also got new stuff like a black and purple version of the Plunderlord set with mounts and weapons to match, and they say this is going to be something in early 2025. It's a funny thing with Plunderstorm. Number one, this is a chance for them to iterate so that it doesn't have some of the issues the previous one had. I think the practice mode will be good for people who, I guess, are not as used to that sort of gameplay. I'll certainly say, and this is me not as a PvP player, me as primarily a raider in World of Warcraft, Plunderstorm was some of the most fun I had had in World of Warcraft for years and years and years. I don't know what it was, but just the thrill of being in the Final Four, having just a skill shot and positioning based duel for the win. I thought that created really tense, just engaging gameplay. I think I finished Plunderstorm with like 400 or 500,000 of the tokens. I mean, I played 4 times more than you needed to get all of the rewards, purely just for fun. So, I mean, yeah, I'm obviously biased. I do want that to come back, but I hope that they're able to do it in a way that brings more people along in the ride and makes it feel a bit more approachable. Another interesting change is the cross-faction pre-made group finder restriction is being somewhat lifted. Alliance and Horde...
Yes, brother. They have to they have to continually remove all kind of barriers that make it so that you can't play with people from the other faction or from other servers or whatever, and make the game at least feel, we know this is not the case, but at least feel like you are in a massive just 1 mega server, brother.
Will be able to queue together, but only in a full group of 5, and that's because they do want people to play with the same faction by default. And then we got something I didn't expect, a BFA meta achievement. They've actually been adding these and just making sure that expansions have them, so this is for fully completing an exhaustive list of BFA content.
I never do that
shit.
You
will finish this achievement called A Farewell to Arms, and you will get the Janny's Trash Pile mount. In the process, there's a new mini meta achievement as well for fishing just the base BFA stuff, so no patch content, and that awards you with the Honeyback Hive Mother mount. Okay, all of that was a lot. in terms of how it shakes out, Siren Isle itself does look to be more of the same that we're used to, but I think it's fun enough to warrant the effort, especially because of all the lore, like nice sort of voice dialogue, the way that it's basically 2 zones in 1 with the storm. I think that's a fun design idea for them to start exploring. And we do also have to remember that we're just off the back of complaining that the 8-week cycle caused one of the worst patch launches we've ever seen. So that is something that's in my head. Like, there's the bit of me that looks at this,
Yeah, the 20th anniversary patch was, or is, stupid. It was stupider with the bugs, and they have been fixing them, but still the content itself is also stupid.
Okay, new content, the island's actually really fun, really well designed, the lore seems real cool, but 8 weeks is something that I'm still suspicious of, that I'm still a bit worried about. And for Blizzard, that does mean that we're about to find out if 1105 was just a one-off slip-up because they were doing engine upgrades and there's a bunch of complexity with class changes, or if it is the sign of a systemic failing. Because if this patch messes up, then yeah, they're going to have fallen into a trap that they kind of laid for themselves. So on that, I will say, fingers crossed. And in the meantime, if you'd like...
I also hope that the patch is good. I am not one of those doomers that say, oh, I hope everything sucks and that they learn because they are making mistakes or whatever. No. I always want the patch to succeed. I always want the things to be good. But if they come out and they suck, I will say they suck, right? But I want them to be good. That is the thing. I hope the patch is good. I hope they take this opportunity to also fix some stuff in the end game, in the regular end game, and don't focus everything on the new isle. Use this as an opportunity to improve, fix, and balance things in regular Mythic Plus. This new ring thing apparently is going to be awesome. I hope that you can use the ring outside of the island in all content, and that is like a good idea in my opinion. So let's see what happens with that. This was a cool video from Belullar because it brought me up to speed to what is coming in the new patch that I didn't know that what we were going to get. So I am grateful for this video. Cool video, my brother Belullar, my dude.